To master the winger position, you gotta know how to create space. Not only for you, but also for your teammates. And in this video, that's exactly what you're gonna figure out. How can you create space so you can be a lot more effective as a winger? As much as it's important to know what you can do with the ball as a winger, in my opinion, it's also really important, if not more important, to play the winger position when you know how to create space for yourself or for your teammates. And many coaches would also agree that your movement off the ball as a winger is super important for the team. Because your movement off the ball as a winger doesn't only create space for you, but it creates space for your teammates to receive the ball. And in this video, we're gonna learn how to create space for your teammates and yourself when your team is building the play up from the back line. When your team is building up from the back, you have a couple of options to do. But your movement off the ball as a winger really depends on what your fullback is doing. So this is the first step you need to realize and you need to understand as a winger. Because the type of fullback that you're playing with will really determine what kind of a winger you're gonna be. Doesn't matter if you're a left-footed left winger, if you're a right-footed left winger, if you're staying wide, if you're making inverted runs, your movement off the ball will really depend on what your fullback is doing. If your fullback is told to overlap, you have to make the inverted runs. Otherwise, your fullback left their position and now there is a space that is exposed in the back line. And you're wasting the whole space where you could be occupying the central channels and your fullback could be occupying the wide channels. Because it's all about making it wide when your team is attacking and making it tight when the opposition is attacking. Simplest explanation to your inverted runs, even though if you're a left-footed left winger, let's say, you are occupying the opposition's fullback or opposition center back. So you are fooling them that you're gonna receive the ball. You're fooling them that you're making all those moves to get the ball. But you're actually fooling them to get away from that space so your fullback can occupy that space and receive the ball and attack with more players to the opposition's net. Because your goal when your fullback is overlapping is to keep the opposition's fullback and center backs busy. So basically fooling them that you're gonna receive the ball, and this is exactly why your movement off the ball as a winger is incredibly important, because you wanna get tight to them and you wanna get them to follow you central, so you are opening up that space in the back for your fullback to receive the ball. If your fullback is not told to overlap, or if your fullback is just one of those fullbacks just doesn't overlap, this is when you do the exactly opposite. Now your goal is to create central space for your central midfielders or attacking midfielders to receive the ball. And how do you do this? Exactly the opposite to what you do to create space for your fullback. Now you want to start central and occupy the opposition center back, their central midfielder or their fullback, to suck them out of the position, to fool them to come with you, so it opens up a space for your central players to receive the ball. And the most important thing that you need to get a good habit of is you cannot be a stationary winger. Stationary winger means that you're staying wide, you're not creating space for anybody but yourself. To be able to do this, you need to earn it. If you look at players like Vinny Jr., Kylian Mbappe, when they played the wide role, they earned that right to stay wide and receive the ball always to themselves. Where if you are a young player and just starting your journey, just starting to play as a winger, you need to be active and you need to be moving constantly to create space for one another. But what can you do to create space for yourself to receive the ball? It's a bit harder to create space for yourself when your fullback is overlapping, because this forces you to make central runs where the opposition occupies the most. So your goal when you're making the inverted runs is not really for you to receive the ball from the get-go, unless the ball goes wide to your fullback and then your fullback finds you. And obviously during the game, the most space you can find is the wide parts of the field. So this is when you have to be in incredible communication with your fullbacks, because sometimes you will want your fullback to make the inverted run and you're gonna wanna receive the ball out wide. So this is good, it can happen, but you have to realize to drop deep to cover for your overlapping fullback. which you kind of have to do it every time your fullback overlaps, that you always have to keep it in the back of your head that you're gonna sometimes have to drop deep to cover the space that your fullback left open. And the obvious reason that your team will have more space out wide is because the teams likes to close tight the central channels, because the teams are least dangerous when they receive the ball outside. So initially, always good to keep in mind that you're gonna have more space to receive the ball, and you're not gonna have to do too much to create space to receive the ball out wide, because you're naturally gonna have space outside anyways. But what can you do with your movement to create space for yourself, whether it's central or whether it's wide? This is something I personally do that works very well for the most part. But it's also a bit dangerous if your team loses the ball. Now you're gonna have to run more because you lost your position, because you're not where you're supposed to be. And let's get right into it. So you're playing the game, the ball is going to the opposite side of the field, and you see that, and you're looking around, and now you're discovering the whole field, all the players, including the opposition and your team, is shifting to where the ball is. This naturally happens. Every game, if you look around, when the ball is going to the opposite side, you're gonna notice that the game shifts there. And what happens now? Think about it. Where do you think the space is gonna be? If you look around, you're gonna know that the space is on the opposite side, right? As a winger, you can start your shifting when the ball is going to the opposite side, shifting more central, maybe to receive the ball or maybe make the move off the ball. But as soon as everybody is making the shift, I slightly go to the opposite way. So this is, whether it's central, whether it's wide, it always works. Every time I make an opposite move to the other side of the field, when the ball is played on the opposite side, I get tons of space. And you're not really getting the space really wide. Now this space kind of shifted more central, and you can actually receive the ball and be really dangerous with your counterattacks, and you can cut inside or you can go wide to cross and provide for your team. By doing this, you are not only creating a space for yourself, but sometimes you are bringing the opposition with you, maybe central, maybe they're center backs, or maybe they're fullback. So you are creating more central space for your other teammates to receive the ball again. And try this method and see if it works. Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, subscribe to my channel. You can also find my playlist right over here. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time.